Thank you very much, Shruti Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. Yes, I was one of the dancing white elephants that Prabhupada brought to India, very skinny one, in 1975. I'm going to show a few pictures from that era if we can get them up. In 1975, I was a seeker running around North America, hitchhiking, trying to find God, studying this one, that one, and then I met Dinabandhu in Portland, Oregon. And he invited me to the feast. I came to the feast, had a malpura, had a samosa. I said, "Can I move in?" He said, "They have a very strict standard." He looked at me and said, "Okay." So I moved in, got my saffron dhoti, my saffron kurta, shaved head, and I was a brahmachari. I didn't know anything about ISKCON or Hare Krishna, but there I was. And much to my surprise, it filled all of my desires for spiritual realization, spiritual knowledge. After 2 years there, I had the privilege of joining a BBT library party, which then traveled a great deal around North America. And there, on that party, with wonderful devotees like Bhakti Maharaj, I had the opportunity to see Srila Prabhupada in many different cities, kind of follow him around a bit. We always hankered to have personal service for Prabhupada. And I had one opportunity to cook lunch and serve Srila Prabhupada in Chicago. Srila Prabhupada the next day said, "Why are so many men staying back from book distribution to cook for me?" So I had my idea. Prabhupada had his idea. And I was and remain a happily insignificant disciple of Srila Prabhupada. As a library party member, we got a chance to come to this festival in 1975. And that was my first time to India. As Sarabi Mataji was saying, yes, we all were very ill. We had a lot of adventures. And Prabhupada was taking us to Hyderabad for this purpose of preaching, showing how these Westerners were taking up Krishna consciousness. How are we doing on the slides? Any luck? No? Okay. Anyway. So we joined Srila Prabhupada in Calcutta, Mayapur. We flew a charter flight from Los Angeles to New York to London to Hamburg, one other stop. And it was a 36-hour flight. We finally arrived in Calcutta, Dum Dum Airport. Perhaps some of you were on that flight. It was the first time a 737 had landed in Calcutta. And so there was a big crowd out on the tarmac to greet the big plane. And off the plane comes a plane load of Westerners and dhotis and saris. It was like a scene from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Well, in any case, what I'm remembering is that we had this, yes, this is Srila Prabhupada in Atlanta in 1975. That boy with the glasses back there, that was my 20-year-old self. And Srila Prabhupada invited us all to come. We came. It was exhausting. When we got to Calcutta, I asked my friend Urjaswat, "Please tell us a pastime of Lord Chaitanya." He said, "Lord Chaitanya got tired and took rest." Okay, next slide, please. This is Hyderabad a few weeks later. Srila Prabhupada gave a series of lectures in Mayapur, one of which was very memorable, and I'll share with you in a minute. But I took notes on all of those lectures, copious notes. And later, looking back on them, I found that everything in the notes is right out of Prabhupada's books. There was maybe an occasional story, this or that, but he was just speaking from the books. And when we went to Hyderabad, he spoke in Hindi, but we sat on the stage, tried to stay awake. And in all these places, we were living in very, very austere conditions. It was the most austere experience of my young life. And yet, it was so fulfilling and exciting to be with Prabhupada. In Mayapur first, and on the train, and in Hyderabad. Finally, we got to Vrindavan. So this was the time when Vrindavan was, of course, we've already heard so many descriptions from devotees who had much more intimate interactions with Prabhupada. I was just along for the ride, and I knew this was something amazing. I knew it was something astounding and earth-changing, but I couldn't really assimilate much, so I just watched and listened. So Srila Prabhupada gave these lectures. You see a number of devotees here you probably know: Keshava Bharati Prabhu, or Maharaj, Jagadish Prabhu, Ansatuta, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Panchadavita Maharaj is there, Kavi Chandra Maharaj, Mula Prakriti. I'm just to the right of Prabhupada's head with the big glasses again. And we were just, for me, I was just trying to soak it all in. So when Srila Prabhupada came to Vrindavan, as has been described, it was a triumphant mood. He was doing the pujas necessary to get credibility with the locals. And we all heard these stories. We're all following every development breathlessly. And then finally, the procession through Vrindavan with the band, the elephants, the whole incredible scene of the hometown boy makes good. That was the feeling I had there in Vrindavan. So there, Srila Prabhupada also spoke each morning, and there were just perhaps 200 of us there. It seemed like there would never be a crowd at Krishna Balaram. In those days, as Prasanatma Prabhu was describing, it was fields everywhere. A little house here or there, peacocks, parrots, very quiet. You had to walk a kilometer to Fogal Ashram in order to get a rickshaw. And so it just seemed very peculiar and yet very, very pleasant to be out in this lonely place. So now we see Srila Prabhupada's magic. So many people have come. I asked Dinabandhu Prabhu, what would Prabhupada say seeing these massive crowds in Vrindavan? He said he would be smiling. He would just be happy to see. So his vision came true. And that's the recollections I have about Vrindavan were just that Srila Prabhupada was so happy. At that famous arti, when he was doing the first arti for Krishna Balaram, I was fortunate to be standing just a few feet away as he was doing it. And Vishaka Prabhu, the photographer, was trying to get a shot. And there was a sannyasi standing right in front of the rail. And everyone was packed. So she said to the sannyasi, if you stay and watch, you'll see Prabhupada worshiping Krishna Balaram. But if you just move aside, the whole world can see Prabhupada worshiping Krishna Balaram. And so the sannyasi very graciously moved aside, and she took that famous picture. So now I'd like to share with you, in closing, one last lecture, one of the lectures from Mayapur that really struck me, if I may just take a moment and share. We're mostly talking about the past today, and something about the future also. So in 1975, Srila Prabhupada had just published the early volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so each day in Mayapur, he was reading one verse from the Adi Leela, chapter 1. We were there for a couple of weeks. So on the 13th day, he read the 13th verse, which is about Advaita Acharya. He said, Acharya means somebody who knows the philosophy, practices the philosophy, and teaches the philosophy. It is not difficult. It is not difficult. Then he looked out at us. There were about 200 of us there, mostly with mismatched socks and with dysentery. And he said, so we have how many acharyas in our movement? 10,000? 10,000 will become 100,000. 100,000 will become 1,000,000. And 1,000,000 will become 10 million. And there will be no scarcity of acharyas. Then Srila Prabhupada, shortly after that, did something he did only on a couple of occasions in public. He went into an ecstatic trance. Just at the end of the lecture, he was saying, you are young, you can make this arrangement to have this happen, these 10 million acharyas. I am an old man, I have no opportunity. And with those words, he just entered into a trance-like state of utter silence. So we all just sat there, not knowing what to do, just watching him, and just sort of feeling the spiritual experience that he was sharing. And finally Hansaduta picked up a mridanga and started a kirtan, and that was the end of the moment. But the vision always stayed with me, that 10 million acharyas put him in ecstasy, this idea of 10 million acharyas, and how he stressed it was so easy. That anyone could do it if they did these three things: learn it, practice it, and give it. Get it, live it, and give it. So then, Srila Prabhupada's vision has yet to become realized in that respect. And that's what I want to say looking towards the future. We have had a lot of struggles, our generation, in defining what is this role of initiations and guru and ISKCON. It has been a very, very difficult road. And he wanted 10 million. We're out about 100 at this point. We have a ways to go. But the vision that I want to share with you, this comes from Prabhupada's own experience in San Francisco. Next slide, please. This was from 1967. Nityananda, next slide, please. Yeah. This warm, vibrant mood is what recruited all of these dancing white elephants to come with Prabhupada to India. It was a family mood. It was a very equal spirit that everybody shared. And you see these great devotees here, such as Jayananda Prabhu, Jamuna. I better call her Jamuna Prabhu. One time I said, Mother Jamuna, and she said, yes, Father Kalakanta. She said, in the early days, everybody was Prabhu. So these, my wife and I got this assignment in 2006 to set up, or to run a little temple in Gainesville, Florida. And we knew Jamuna well, so we asked her, what were the early days like? And she explained this time when there wasn't a great deal of emphasis on renunciation for men. There was not a great deal of separation. There was a brotherly, sisterly mood and a very warm family environment that was inviting, and people were joining all the time. So we did our best to export that old mood back to Gainesville, where no one had joined in 10 years. And next slide, please. These are some pictures of our Gainesville, intermediate center. This was Chicago. The little ashram grew into the big ashram in 1975. You see Srila Prabhupada there and all these dancing white elephants around him. Around this time, Prabhupada is said to have mentioned that I am the only Hindu in ISKCON. There were just a handful of Indian-born devotees at that time. So, next slide, please. These go, fast forward now 40, 50 years. Most of our temples are oases for the Indian diaspora. This is the same temple, Chicago, just a few years ago. And we find that the congregations have come and stepped in the temples because the older devotees couldn't maintain. So now, the same ashram principles apply today. Next slide, please. These are bringing this back to the same mood back to the present. The next couple of slides will show us those, please. Yeah, this is the Gainesville ashram from a couple of years ago. We found that if young men and young women are invited to join, that they will come if they're presented with just add Krishna, the way that Prabhupada taught on 26 2nd Avenue. Not a lot of rules and regulations, just add Krishna. They will still join, the magic still works. So we're trying to promote this idea and encourage people to take personal responsibility for teaching Krishna consciousness and taking students. One more slide, please. Yeah, this is our ashram these days. We have 4 local initiating gurus in Gainesville who help take care of these young men and women. And this vision of 10 million acharyas was Prabhupada's ecstatic meditation that impressed me so much as a young man that I'm now doing, along with many other devotees, to try to diversify our congregations in the places where ISKCON first took root. In North America and Western Europe, Australia. Today, most of our temples are full of the Indian congregational members who are invaluable. And at the same time, Paschatya Deshatarane was Prabhupada's mission. So my humble request today, everybody who is celebrating the past can also look forward to the time when we can reach a great variety of people all over the world in the mood of Srila Prabhupada. And in our own environments become the teachers, Yai Daha Tarika Krishna Upadesh, Amara Gyai Guru Hoi Tara Edesh. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you.